The next one. So your first win was also the site of your second win in Ogden, Utah. 79 you won it, and 80 you won it. What was it like to race down there?
On a reservoir, just run around. That ended up being an interesting race. As I mentioned before, Bill Muncie and I were good friends, and Dean Chenoweth and Bill had no love for each other, and they were racing there. And Dean gave Bill a wake, and it flew Bill way up in the air, and then they got in a big debate, and and Bill came out of that boat, and he says, "I'm out of the sport. I'm out of the sport." And I said, "Bill, calm down, calm down." And we went and talked, and I said, "Bill, there's ways around this." And Newton ruled against Bill and not Dean, and Dean was the fault of a lot of it. And I said, there's other ways to solve these in a different way, other times, not now. Your life's out there, and this is. But we did win that race, and the second time we went there, the money in Utah was questionable. Evidently, the people putting on the race were disappearing with the money, and the employees had to be paid. And Bill Bennett got wind of it and called for a helicopter and two of his men with a briefcase. And they flew in, and they went up to where the money was, and they just emptied the tills right into the bag, got back in the helicopter, and flew off.
Wow.
Bennett was going to make sure everybody that went to that race was going to get their money, and they did. But there were some questionable regulations of going across state line and everything else. But anyway, it was an interesting. Everybody was paid.
Well, brings us to the third win, and the final win for the 79 hole was in Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, I've yet to see it, but from what I hear, it was, if not the second most dramatic Hanauer win ever. Yeah. And a lot of people talk about in '82 how he beat Dean over in Detroit, I think it was. And how he comes from behind, sneaks inside, and beats him. But everybody talks about Tri-Cities as well. Can you tell us about that race?
Tri-Cities was a very interesting race. First off, we had engines, and we'd gotten in trouble with the oil for one. But because it foamed, and we got in the wrong shipment. So we lost some engines. But we had an old standby, one that an engine that they had a name for it.
Acme.
Acme. And it was pieced together, and so anyway, it was put in the boat, and we raced with that engine. And King TV was filming it, and they had a crane, and they came over to me. They knew, the guys all knew me from King, and they said, "Come on up and join us we're going up in the lift, and we got room up there for you." So I said, "Well, okay." So I went up on the lift, and they got up there, and they said, "We predict races," and they said, "We predicted this one that you're going to win." And I said, "With all the things we went through, you're going to win. Bill Muncie will go around and start, and he will be ahead of everybody. And Bill Muncie, about the third lap, I guess it was, is going to break down in the back of it. And then Dean and Chip will be fighting it out." And so we got to fourth and came to the fifth lap, and Dean was down there, and Chip was inside, and he was riding right along. And that old baby was still puffing out there and running. That Acme was living in there for its last big run in life. But and so Dean went all the way along the beach, and he was waving to everybody. And Chip was inside, and he was going up there, and boy, and then Dean decided he was going to give him a run for his money, but Chip went across first and won it. And he couldn't even go for a victory lap. He had to bring that baby in.
It broke right at the end.
It was just huffing and blowing water out and everything else. And I remember somebody put a rose or something in there in the stacks of it and stuff. But yeah, that was a great win to win, though.
Oh yeah, I can
I was-
imagine.
The guys from, I think, King Television were yelling louder than I was about winning because they had predicted it and figured it and filmed it, shooting it that way. That's when they were anticipating it. I said, well, I hope you're around at the next bunch of races we go and you give me some good predictions the same way. So.